Welcome to the Heads Up Poker Podcast. This is Steve Barton, and I'm here with...
This is Mike Snyderman, Poker Pro for another 11 days.
I love it.
The job search begins after New Year's, man. I'm just letting you know what you're going to be listening to today. If we have to come up with names for these episodes, this one is like Mike becomes even more hysterical or something along those lines.
Mike loses it?
Yeah, pretty much. That's where I'm at here.
Okay.
But anyways, once again, I've interrupted you. Yes, this is episode 3.
Episode 3, yes. We've made it to episode 3. Before we go too much further, if you've made it to episode 3, we got to apologize. We're still learning the technical aspect of this, and the last episode, I think, was I was in your left ear and Mike was in your right, and I need to watch some YouTube videos and figure it out, but we're learning. Stick with us. Be patient. And
you'll be real patient waiting for me. I don't even know how to use a can opener.
I know. You got two derelicts.
I've been trying for like 25 years to learn how to change a battery in a fire alarm. Haven't got that one either.
Usually what most people do is they just rip them off the wall, and then they call 911, and we show up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and we give them a new 9-volt battery, and then it fixes it. That's usually what happens. Yeah. So it, 911, that's your solution to that. So.
Firemen probably have little patience for people who are too dumb to put batteries in their smoke detectors. You know,
every time I do things like that, I tell myself on the way to these calls, I'm like, I know it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and but you're getting paid to do this. Put on a smile when you walk through that door, and just try to be professional. And I've been doing it now for 13 years, and it's getting more and more challenging. But we do our best.
You're growing impatient.
I am.
As I'm growing impatient with the lagtards who just call every flop and just keep getting there against me. But I promise.
That's got to be brutal.
I've been meaning to ask that. Do firemen have like women, like cops have, like there's this group of women who only date cops.
Yes.
Are there women who always just love firemen?
Yes.
There are. Okay, sweet.
And there's even a name for them.
Okay.
Can you guess what it is?
I don't know. Engine hoppers.
Oh, that's pretty good. No, they're called badge bunnies.
Badge bunnies. Ooh.
Yes.
Anything with the word bunnies in it is good.
Well, some of them aren't quite as cute as bunnies.
Well, that's okay. I like the fat bunnies too. I'm not overly discerning.
You don't discriminate.
I can't afford to be these days, unfortunately.
You don't discriminate. Yes, it is true.
Anyways, it's been like a really, really bad month, and Saturday was like just put me over the edge.
Just icing on the cake, or what?
Yeah, pretty much. And it was just, maybe I'm just not good enough or whatever. But then of course Sunday, to forget about poker, I decided to grind online a little bit. I was going to just stay home and watch football and not go to the casino.
Yeah.
But I said, let's go. This is how I built my bankroll. And I ended up shipping a tournament on Sunday night. A little $11 tournament, but it was a $20K guarantee. So it paid like $3,600. There's over 2,000 runners.
Wow.
I didn't really write down any hands from that one to discuss. I mean, I can probably remember a few if we have time at the end from that. But,
well, that's pretty cool, anyways. Dude. Congratulations. That's a big accomplishment.
Well, thanks. I mean, every time I'm ready to just give up on poker, my variance hasn't been too terrible over the last couple of years, because every time I'm like, this is just ridiculous. It's just gambling. Then I usually get a decent score and turn things around. But I would need a few more decent scores to cover the cash losses of the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's been really, really bad. Lost like 8 of the last 9 sessions for, well into 5 figures.
Oh God,
that's
brutal. What is it? Just is it bad variance, or are you not playing well? Or are you off your game, or what is it?
Yeah, I think it's, well, we're going to talk about the two really bad beats I took this past week, or that Saturday session that where I lost another $3,000 or $4,000. I'd have to look it up. But looking at it more closely, I think one of them is like a real bet sizing error, and I guess the other one's just a real. There's another real bad beat, but it's interesting to look at, kind of the overall emotional state when a session's going bad, and maybe a willingness to play big pots just to, get back what you lost kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I technically, if I go in there and buy in for the max 1,500, that's real bad. My bankroll's really taking a hit, and that's just like sort of course, I was just like this 2 months ago, and then I went on a nice run. So, I mean, we'll see. But right now, anyways, I told myself I'm not going to be playing any cash for a few weeks, and I'm going to actually go out and get a part-time job and remember the value of money, and then start grinding slowly. And then if, the bankroll moves in, I mean, we'll see. I mean, the idea of going out and getting a job.
Let me ask you this before we jump to any drastic conclusions here about actually getting a real job. What's your normal buy-in that you're buying into? Are you normally playing 5-5, or are you normally playing 5-10, or what are you?
Yeah, 5-5.
And would you say 80% of your time you're playing 5-5, and like what percentage are you playing 10?
Probably 90%. I've played 5-10 has happened a couple times when there's not been a 5-5 game going.
Okay.
And I usually buy, the max buy for that is $3K, but I usually buy in for 2.
Okay.
And I did do 10-20 once when I was a nice little streak.
Okay.
And actually, the only 10-20. Well, no, I had another one where I think maybe a couple more times I played like briefly. Sometimes you got to wait like 45 minutes to get a table at 5-5. You're 7th on the list, and they're not going to start a new table without 9 players, and you got to move up. So sometimes I've jumped on 5-10.
Well, now what's
waiting for?
What's the limit below 5-5?
2-3, I believe they have there.
And what's the buy-in to that?
I think the max buy-in is 300, so it's quite a jump there. From 2-3 is 300, and 5-5 is 1,500. I don't know who comes up with these numbers.
Yeah, okay, so you got the same game that I'm playing at the local casino here in Ventura.
Right.
You got a 2-3 with a max 300 buy-in, and then you've got but then it jumps all the way up to 5-5. They don't have anything in between.
No.
Now, is that the only casino down there, or do they have another casino that's got like 2-5 with a 500 buy-in, or?
I haven't. I know there's a few other places, but this place is only like 12-minute drive.
Okay.
And everything else is 30 minutes plus.
Yeah, that's kind of a selling point there.
But yeah, I probably should check out a few other places. I don't know though. Like I said, my bankroll, I probably should be playing 2-3. And just set a goal of whatever, $25-$30 an hour, and grind that for at least a couple weeks. But I think I'm still a bit good enough to beat the 5-5. I think it has been a lot of variance, but it's I just can't fold a hand, man. That's been my problem. I just pay people off way too frequently. And there's a couple of those hands we can maybe discuss too. I don't know what that's some sort of psychological. The one better player, maybe I think we mentioned last week, he's always says, I'd much rather make a bad fold than a bad call.
I remember you saying that. Yeah.
And, I just hate being bluffed, man. It drives me nuts,
There's a pro I ran into in Ventura, in Las Vegas. I go out there, 6 times a year. I've got some rental property out there. My brother lives out there. And he said something that kind of stuck with me. And he said that, sometimes you just fold the best hand. And he's like, It sucks, but if you're calling too often, you're just going to be bleeding money. And, I've never forgotten that. And I think that's a good, he's got a point there,
Right. Yeah, I'm always putting people on, I get bluffed certainly. But I seem to always be putting people on like the one hand they could be bluffing with.
Yeah.
The one busted draw, or this person knows I'm a calling station, and I don't know. It's a problem with my game for sure, where I just get too deep in too many big pots with marginal hands.
And there's nothing wrong with stepping down to 2-3 and just chilling for a month. And we're talking about it last week, and you're like, I can't believe that there's any serious pros at 2-3. And maybe you're right, but I swear at this club I'm at, there's got to be some pros at 2-3. They're just too good, they're just too good to not be professional. And just the way they act and the way they carry themselves, and like when they take a bad beat, they're just stoic, and their face is just the 1,000-yard, they just reach in their pocket, they pull out 300 more, and they're like, it's nothing to them. You know what I mean? Like, I can't believe that they're not pros. And, I mean, 5-5 is a tough game. Like Jonathan Little, I heard him say that on I don't remember who was interviewing him. I heard him on a podcast, and he said that his regular game is 2-5 no limit.
Huh.
2-5 no limit at the Aria in Vegas. And this is Jonathan freaking Little, you know?
Sure.
I mean, if that's his regular game, and he even said that oftentimes he's not even the best player in that game at the table. So, I mean, for you to be playing 5-5 and all the way up to 5-10, I mean, there's got to be some stellar pros, you know?
There is. Oh no, there's friction. You know, I mean, the average player who's a regular in a 5-10 cash game. I mean, you're talking about bumping against really the best players in the world. I think. I mean, a lot of times.
I think so.
Certainly better than the tournament, even the tournament studs. You know, you're gonna. I mean, that's my first impression, but whatever. Right now I'm a winning tournament player and a break even or slightly profitable cash game player. But yeah, I mean, we can get into that. What the hourly again is at 2-3. I don't doubt that there's very good players there.
You know, there are a few now. Don't get me wrong. There is some very, very easy money to be made at the table. You know what I mean? I mean, like, I just a hand that I was thinking of. You know, I raised and a guy called with the. I take that back. I re-raised. So it went raise under the gun. I had aces. I 3-bet. I think he raised at 15. I raised at 45. A guy cold called me. Anyways, he ended up hitting trip sixes on the flop, and he had 9-6 suited. So and he called from middle position. So you know he's still got 5 people left to act behind him. I mean, there's a lot of dead money there, and
right.
you know you can I think. Actually, after this month, last month I was making $22 an hour. After this month, I'm probably down to high teens. Hasn't been a totally stellar month for me either, but I'm definitely going to be in the red this month. There's no way I'm going to pull it out even with one good session. But you know, I mean, if you're good, I got to believe that you can make probably not more than 30 an hour, but I mean, you can make at least 20. You know,
right?
And that's better than working at you know, Marie Callender's or something, you know what I mean?
Well, that I agree with. Yeah, I still think it'd be hard. I mean, it depends. If it was 2-3 and the buy-in was even like 500,
that would help a lot.
It's just like, I mean, in a 5-5 game, when, you know, if you're there with a couple pros and you've all gotten, you know, $2,000 to $4,000, so you're all, you know, 400 plus big blinds deep, there's just a lot more chance for the really good player to like put a lot of pressure on you versus the difference between 100 big blinds and like, you know, 400 or 500, I think is, a little bit different. You know what I mean? Just in terms of the guy who wants to, you know, float twice and then raise you on the river.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's like,
that's
like kind of a 400 big blind move, I think. I don't know. I mean, you can do it, I guess, at any stack depth, but I mean, my first impression of 2-3 would be like, you're not trying to play great. Just play solid poker and wait for other people to make mistakes. I mean, maybe that's the problem. I should be doing the same thing at 5-5, but I'm definitely taking some more creative or aggressive. I don't know. Profitable is not the word, I guess.
That's what I do, man. I just play ABC. I play ABC. You know what I mean? I play ABC, and then when I'm against a solid player, that's when I gotta kind of, you know, pull out some tricks and you know, kind of read between the lines, but against your average Joe, you just, you know, I think this, you know, if you could step down for that for a month and just play, I think that'd get your confidence back up. You would, you know, I mean, do what you want. You can, you know, do whatever you want, but, you know, I think you would crush the 2-3. I really do. You know, and just play solid. You know, it's going to be kind of boring. You're going to be folding most hands, but, you know, you play 6 hands an hour, and when you do, you usually got it, and there's usually like I don't know, one good bluff in that hour, and the rest are
right.
You've got it, you know, you've got the hand, and
right.
You're hoping they call. You know, it's,
I still think, like I said, I just yeah, I mean, that's probably the move to do. But like I said, I made $20,000 at 5-5 last month. The problem is I lost, you know, $14,000 this month. So I mean, it's just, yeah, it's just,
you know, you need $100,000 to be able to bankroll yourself for that. You know,
I should be.
Those swings are just mind blowing, dude. You know, I mean,
I think this was like maybe a 2+2 post about variance, and there was one pro who says he's been playing 5-10 for 3 years without ever having more than a 6 buy-in downswing.
wow.
So it's funny. 6 buy-ins or 9K is like what I always. For some reason, I've always had that in mind, and the 9K is what I've always kind of carried around with me. What I was walking to the casino with. Like I said, never wanted to use it all, but you just keep it in. I like it. I like it all in the one. I like having it all in one rubber band. 9,000 feels good in the pocket, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's all gone now, so I have to go back to the bank and decide how much I want to take out if I even continue. I'm going to continue playing. It's in my blood, but like I told myself, definitely take a week off and maybe even a little more time or just grind online. I guess me grinding online in tournaments is almost the same thing as playing 2-3, just in terms of, I think probably it's like $25 or $30 an hour I make grinding. I mean, if I really wanted to amp it up and try to play, I usually play only 4 tables, play 8 tables, and I mean, maybe $50 an hour playing the online on the American sites is a reasonable aspiration. If I continue to.
What sites are you playing on?
I play mostly just carbon poker. Bovad I'm kind of prejudiced against just because I've lost there. And America's Card Room, I've had a couple decent scores on there. I haven't played recently. You can't download it on a Mac, and my PC I don't like very much, so I like playing on the Mac.
Okay.
And so it was in Carbon Poker that I shipped the 20K guarantee.
Okay, good.
But I don't know. Do you want to discuss a few hands?
Yeah. My wife and her mom are out. I just picked up my mother-in-law from the airport today. So we went down to LAX, picked her up. She flew up from Colombia. We're gonna drive out to Vegas on Christmas Day. I got to work tomorrow, and then I get off Christmas morning. We're gonna drive out to Vegas, spend it with my family on Christmas Day. So we picked her up. They're out shopping right now. They could come in. If they do, then I'll move the computer into the bedroom, and then we won't have to.
Very nice.
Won't have to.
It should be fun.
Yeah, it should be cool.
So obviously, you're not going to go to Vegas unless you can play some poker, right?
Damn Skippy, yes. I'm going to play some cards. So we'll spend Christmas with the family, and then I'm sure I'll sneak away for I'd like to play I don't know, maybe $100, $200, $300 tournament, something like that. A couple of them would be good, or I could just grind some 1-2 or 2-5. Yeah,
do you have a casino you like there?
You know what? There's a few of them I like. I really like the Venetian. I like Bellagio, and I haven't played at the Aria, but I hear a lot of pros play there because they say it's really soft. But I do like the Bellagio. I like the Venetian. Those are probably my two favorite. The reason I like them is because it's so you'll sit down at a 2-5 game. And, you buy in for, 500 or 600, and there'll be a guy there, and, he's sitting down at a 2-5 table, and it's the first time ever playing. Like,
okay.
He's pulling out like $3,000, and they're like, oh no, the max, sir, is, 600. Oh, okay. All right. And then he pulls that out, and he's acting out of turn, and it's just like, are you kidding me? This is taking me how many years to work up to this? This guy is just now sitting down. So a lot of these guys, they're just successful businessmen, and they, they're here for a business thing this weekend, and they want to try their hand at poker, or they, they've seen it on TV, or they play with their buddies in the garage every weekend, or, they're drinking. I've never found games better than in Vegas. I just never have. It's the easiest games I've ever played. And, I've played in AC. I've played, up and down California, Vegas, and, other random places. And they're the best games I've ever played. I've played overseas.
Loose money, I guess.
Loose money, yeah. Now high variance, but loose money.
Yeah, it's good that you, actually one of the pros from, Promotions 11 just was gone for 2 weeks. He's like, I'm going to play the Aria 510. So he was going there for a very specific game. And I just saw him the other day, and he said he did very well.
Good for him.
So I don't know something about the I can't really comment on Vegas versus other places because I'm new to the cash, but I played a lot at the Venetian this summer when I went out there for 10 days, my first ever Vegas trip, and I kind of got my ass kicked at 510. I don't know if it was the competition, but funny thing, I wasn't even looking for a soft game like the Venetian. Like I had their warm butter cake the first night and a good burger, and I'm like, oh, this is where I'll be playing.
Yeah.
I like the food. This is kind of my mentality, you know.
You know, I look at it like which ones have the most expensive hotel rooms, because those are the people that are coming down, they're drinking at the table, and then they walk back to their hotel. And you know, that's why I think the Bellagio and the Venetian have been the best to me. Is, you know, you're going to sit down and there's going to be 3 or 4 regulars at the table, but the other 5 guys are not. And
right,
you know?
I should have been playing. I should have been playing 5-5 or 2-5. I guess it would be there, but I wanted to play 5-10. And you know, I'm guessing the 2-5 I would have had a fairly decent edge in those games, but
I've yet to find a bad 2-5 game in Vegas. I'm sure they're there. Maybe I'm just, you know, choosing to not see them or something, but they're always soft. they just always are. And,
right.
And the best times are, and this is what, you know, I'm going to have to adjust to when I move out there is, you know, the times that are best to play is from like 8, 9 o'clock at night till like 4 in the morning.
Right.
You know, that's, you gotta, if you want the best money, that's the schedule you gotta have, you know? And,
right.
It doesn't necessarily matter.
The drunken gamblers show up at 1 a.m.
The drunken gamblers, yes. Yeah. And, you know, the people that are stuck and they, you know, you could have, probably a regular schedule from, 9 to 5 during the day if you wanted it, but I can guarantee that your hourly is not going to be nearly as good as it would be as if you were to play, you know, the midnight hours, because it, yeah, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be
right.
Fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, sometimes I haven't noticed. I'd have to look to see which sessions I've done better day or night. Usually the day, the crowd's a little older. A lot of them are buying a little shorter.
Yep.
So you definitely got to play snugger.
Yeah.
And kind of just, but you know, these guys are playing such a low number of hands. You just kind of, you know, steal a few pots and you know, hopefully own them with bet sizing where you just get paid off when you have a hand and they don't. But, yeah, little things I'm learning, you know what I mean? Like when people are buying in short, you just got to play less hands, I think. Cause if you 3-bet and C-bet, next thing you know, you've put $100 in, they only have 200 when they shove on you.
Yeah.
And you got to call with any pair, and you know, it's just you put yourself in tough spots when you kind of ratchet up the aggression against the people who buy in short.
Yeah, and usually the people that buy in short are not pros. You know.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
You know, there's not usually a pro that sits down at a table and doesn't buy in for the max.
There's one pro that I'm thinking of emulating there, just watching him, because he seems to just make money every time. Although he buys in for like $800 or $900. It's one of those things where, you know, if you just make $500 a session, you know, you're making good money over the course of the year.
Oh.
But I seem to have a lot of sessions where I make $3,000 or lose $3,000 or I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, buying in, you know, if you buy in for $1,500 and lose that, you know, at a 5-5 game, it can be tough to recover. But yeah. Like you said, maybe just playing, you know, ABC poker at a lot of tables is enough. Just bet when you have it and get away when you don't and steal a couple pots. And, anyways, I mean, these are all little things I have to consider if I'm going to return to playing cash there is, you know, how much to buy in at. Very simple. Yeah. Yeah. For right now, where my bankroll has taken a big smack in the ass, I probably should, you know, buying in for $800 or $900 sounds, which is still pretty decent at a 5-5 game. You still got a lot of wiggle room there. Like most poker players, perhaps overestimating my ability. If I think I got a decent edge, a good edge, and especially if there's some deep stacks there of mediocre players, you know, if you have the money, you should be buying in for the max, I think. You know what, man? I don't think you're overestimating your ability. I think what you're doing, I mean, I definitely think you're good enough to beat those games. It's just, you got to have the roll behind you to do it.
you're going to hit variance. I mean, there's going to be people that are going to call you with a gut shot and they're going to hit, and it's going to be, you're going to have those sessions where it's just like, do I even know how to play this game? What am I doing wrong? Like, I got it in. I was a 70% favorite and he hit, and then I got it in. I was an 80% favorite and he hit, and then I got it in. I was a 55. He was 45 and he hit. And, that's just going to stack up, and then it's going to come the other way. And there's going to be a bunch of big variance. But if you don't have enough to back you up to get you through those downward swings,
right,
then it doesn't matter how good you are.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you are right. Although, like I said, the idea of playing 2-3 right now feels
like pennies.
It feels like waving the white flag as much as not playing. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we'll see. Like I said, I probably should just playing because what bankroll I have, since I'm a better tourney player, the Commerce series is coming up in January with a bunch of $500 buy-in, $250K guarantees. Basically, I should be saving my bankroll for those tournaments, and then, yeah, playing 2-3 for the next month or grinding the online tournaments would not be a bad idea at all.
You could. It would definitely get your confidence back up. I think it would help a lot because you'll kind of get grounded in like I said, the ABC poker of
the fundamentals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it'll take you right back to the fundamentals. You're not going to have to be on this like 4th, 5th, 6th level trying to just be one step ahead of this pro that is, okay, well, is he re-leveling me? Am I leveling myself? Like you're not up there in the clouds. You know what I mean? You're down here back on Earth, and you're on level maybe 2, maybe 3. Like what do I think he thinks I have? And then every now and then you're like, what do I think he thinks I think he has? And that's about as far as you have to go.
Right. Well, no, I mean, usually not trying to bang heads with the pros. A lot of times there's nothing there but, really good players, but there's usually 1 or 2 players where you're just kind of, the pros are taking different turns playing pots with them, trying to stack them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Deep, calm blue ocean.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, Saturday night I was hysterical, but like calm because it was just like, okay, this is over. Like I had, like I said, my last couple buy-ins. I went there and I'm like, the game's not, whatever. I was like, yeah, I'll tell you about the hand. When the hand, I lost 2 horrible hands. And the second one, I just marched out of there. Good game, guys. And one pro came running after me. He's like, here, man, here's your phone. And like,
oh, wow.
I was running so bad. They were like, people couldn't even look me in the eye after these bad beats. They were just like, but, yeah, I was so out of it. I just, but like once I got home, I'm like, okay, calm, great. I get a week off. I'm grateful. I don't really have enough money to play poker right now.
Yeah.
I said, I'll have to go get a job. It's good. I'll make new friends at Target or Walmart, whoever will have me. But anyways, let's talk some hands.
Okay. Let's see. You
want me to start this time, or do you want to?
Yeah, go ahead. You start this time.
Almost similar to what we were talking about. It seems like the first couple of shows we've done where I've been like playing against a lunatic. Maybe I'm just calling anyone a lunatic who's taking my chips. I don't know. But I think this guy kind of qualified. The villain who we'll describe coming up here.
Okay.
And again, very drunk.
Okay. It's always good.
Drinking heavily.
I love those kind of players.
This guy was visiting California from Houston. I guess not just, you understand the game, but just playing every hand, and like just indifferent to other people's bet sizing, calling every 3-bet. And, but he, being a friendly dude, he's like, you want to, I'm learning finally some of the other pros, like one of the better players there is Andre's his name. He's anybody who's like has money, you can tell isn't great. He's like very, very social with what's your name? What do you do? That, conversation. And
yeah,
like this guy wanted to drink. Andre's like, hey, what are you drinking there? Let's get a shot. And so anyways, this guy was directly to my right. I can't remember his name, but, so he bought me a beer. I'm like, oh, thank you. We're getting along. And, we played a couple, I forget. He like
this guy's on your right.
He's directly to my right.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
And, I don't know how long I've been playing with, an hour and a half, 2 hours. And his wife was over playing 2-3, and she came over time to get money from him. And then I don't know if this affected. She came over just to watch him, and I think she kind of wanted to go, and he was even gambling it up more because he knew his fun time was coming to a close.
Yeah.
And we had played a couple decent sized pots. One I had like pocket 9s, and there was like Jack 10. I called him 3 streets with with third pair and was right. He was bluffing. And then a few minutes later, he did the same thing, and I had an ace, and flopped an ace, and he barreled 3 streets, and I folded. I'm like, well, he just saw me call down. He's got to have it this time. I had a crummy ace. I'm like, I'm being punished for playing this. And he showed the bluff this time. I'm like, he's not going to try to bluff me again.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, after the turn call, I'm like, I obviously have an ace here, but he did. I forget. And again, he had to stack up to like 3,500, and then it was down to like 400. And, you know, one of those, anyways, just gambling there to have fun, drinking. Some guy who obviously was not going to care if he lost the money, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And anyways, this is a hand where, again, I could complain about a bad beat, but really considering the villain, what I'll discuss here really is my bet sizing, I think, is really bad. Considering my hand here, I have aces under the gun.
It's a beautiful hand. Okay.
Yes.
Do the suits matter? Or?
I do not remember the suits. No,
okay.
I don't. So it wasn't relevant. I think it was 2 red aces now that I think about it.
Okay.
I make it 35 under the gun.
Okay. UTG 35. Okay.
And I think that was I don't know, my open probably changed from 20 to 25 to 30, just sort of arbitrarily. But here I'm looking to, you know, if someone's going to 3-bet, I want to like build the pot, you know.
Yeah.
So somebody middle position calls, and then the button raises to 105.
Is this the drunk? Oh, no, the drunk guy's on your right. He's not even in the hand.
But drunk guy's on the right. He's the big blind.
Oh, okay.
And the button this is like a young Australian dude. He's a pro. I don't know if he's independently wealthy or trust funder, but he's, anyways, he was deep stacked. He had like over $4,000.
Okay.
And he 3-bets. I mean, he's involved with of all the pros there. I've learned to kind of like be snugger and just play less hands. But this is one of the pros, or at least regular players, who just plays very laggy style, plays like every hand, 3-betting all sorts of crap. So this could be, he's squeezing with, could be just about anything. I don't know. Although he probably has a decent hand considering I raised under the gun, but he raises to 105.
Okay.
And the big blind calls.
The drunk guy has the big blind he calls.
The drinker from Houston calls 105. And here's where I think I make a big mistake. I don't think I thought too long about it. Maybe this was kind of like a turning move where, you know, with aces, you're not really looking to play for stacks when I had $2,600, by the way, to start this hand, or a little bit more.
Okay.
So I'm over 500 big blinds, and the button has me covered. And the big blind, by the way, has like 1,300 or 1,400.
Okay.
But anyways, I only raised to $330. So, and there was, you know, about 300 in the pot. So they're getting better than 2-1.
Let's see, 280 is what I got.
Actually better. Yeah, actually even more because, you know, they only have to call 225 in a pot with now over $500 in it, I think. So, yeah, especially against these two villains, because there's a couple pros there. I was talking about the hand afterwards, and obviously I got unlucky. They said, "Well, are you looking to play heads up a big pot with aces?" I said, "Well, yeah, sure." And they said, "Well, you should charge them more because this guy has $4,000 and he just loves to see flops. So even if I made it 500, there's a good chance he's calling with 8-10 suited or something. You know what I mean?"
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He might not even have a 3-bet fold range unless I made it like ridiculous, like 100 to 900 or something, where he's just. So I don't know what the end. They both end up calling. I make it 330, and
so middle position folds. Then,
the middle position folds, yes.
Okay.
And the button and the big blind call, and like again, I don't know, 490. Like we were discussing, one guy's like, I would have made it 450. The other guy's like, oh no, Steve's calling. You want him putting money in? I would have made it 5 something, and you know the other guy was, and so anyways, they both call, and there's 1,030 in the pot. But there should be about 1,600 in the pot, you know.
1,030. Oh, plus the small blind. Okay, that makes sense. That was off $5. All right. Yeah.
And the flop is 9 of clubs, 7 of clubs, 5 of hearts.
9 of clubs, 7 of clubs, 5 of hearts?
Yes. And the big blind, you know, the action's on him, and he immediately shoves all in.
Okay, so he's got almost $1,000, huh?
Yeah, a little more than $1,000. Yeah, like 1,075.
Okay.
I will remember this number because I will pay him off here.
Okay. He just opened shoves for 1,075.
Yeah. So I think post flop, this it's not really too interesting here. There's nothing for me to do other than shove it all in here, I believe. I don't know if you can discuss. I mean, like I said, ranging this guy could have a flush draw. He could have a set too. I mean, the top of his range, you can't take the top of his range out of here. I don't think he probably would play it the same way. So in that weird way, he's balanced, I guess. I don't, that's not a word I really use that often.
I mean, if he's drunk and he's just having fun and he doesn't carry, he could have anything. You definitely can't fold aces there.
No. And
I think you got to kind of isolate against the button who could have a flush draw. I think I don't see any other move at this point other than shoving.
Well, yeah, I was discussing that after the hand, and the two guys, the guy on the button said, "Oh, I would have, because my shove probably gets him folding like jacks and queens, maybe a couple hands that if I flat, maybe he thinks I'm scared and he shoves, but I think shoving is pretty much automatic there."
I don't see how if you call, the button could think that he could get you off the hand when you've only got like a grand left. I mean,
right. I've got. Well, I had after I call that, I got like 1,200 or something left. So yeah. No, it's a shove, and interesting. I still don't even know some of the rules of poker, quite frankly, since 99% of my poker has been online. You don't have to think about some of these things, but it was interesting. The guy on the button immediately is like, "No," and he flips over and shows his hand, which is ace of clubs, jack of clubs. So he's got the nut flush draw. And he's like, "I don't know. Oh, how much is, so this took like about 5 minutes. Eventually the floor came afterwards and said he can't turn his hand over there, not in a multi-way pot. And me and him were having a conversation and I wasn't even really thinking about it. The other guy is, he's invested in either wanting this guy to call or fold, obviously.
Yeah.
He could have a crummy flush draw and I shouldn't be, but anyways, me and this guy are having this long conversation and he's like, "Oh, what do you got there, mate?" I said, it's pretty obvious, you need a card, right? I mean, against one of us, and we're probably having too much. And this guy, I'm like, "Do you want me to do the math for you?" He's like, "Well, yes, please, mate, do the math for me." He's like, I need some time to think here. Some guy they end up calling the clock on him, and he ends up folding, but I'm like, I'm doing the math for him. I said, "Well, you need the guy's only got $300 in the pot, and he needs $2,300 to make the call."
Yeah,
but $2,300 into a pot of $4,400, he's almost getting 2-1. And I said, "Well, if you have 33%, all you have to do is win this hand 1 of 3 times to break even."
Yeah.
So I wasn't even, thinking, I guess this was, all way out of line. Although the other guy didn't really say anything.
The drunk guy.
Yeah, the drunk guy amazingly was not really saying too much,
He's a recreational player. He's probably just enjoying the show.
No, well, that was it. The guy on the button was trying to make a deal with me. He's like, "What if I call for?" He's like, "How about if I just call for the 9?" And I said, for his size. And this guy finally jumped in. He's like, no, you can't do that. Which of course you can't do it. And I said, no. I said, either fold or get it all in there.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I was talking, like afterwards, the flush did not come. So I would have, kind of been able to break even in the pot or win like just a couple hundred if he calls. I wonder if I just stayed absolutely silent, if it would have made a difference. And again, I was talking to the two guys on my left who are both pros, and they said, no, man, he can't call that much for a draw there. It's just bad poker. He's wild, but he knows that. And he was just frustrated. He wasn't going to get to see the other cards. And, he was
showboating.
But anyways, at the time I kind of wanted him to fold, but then afterwards, being results oriented, I'm like, maybe.
At the time, you just want him out of the hand, and you're like, just let me win this pot and just be done with it.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, if the other guy has, a pair and like a gut shot or something like that, then I've got less than 50% equity because I'm fading 15 outs or something.
Yeah.
I'm probably 45% to win or something. I don't know. But anyways, he folds his ace jack, and this, when you're all in, you don't have to turn your hands over.
Huh. Okay.
He goes to the river to showdown, and then, I called him, so he shows his hand first. And, it goes to the run out is, he's got 9-7-5. Well, we already established he could have many different things, but the run out is like queen, and then the river's a 4. And he's like, 2 pair, and flips over the 5 and the 4.
Oh.
So I slam my aces down to the table, and, I got to pay him off. And, so, overall it was, $3,200 pot. And,
that's brutal.
Yeah, it was brutal. And then afterwards, again, this is the thing. I never really berate he's like, man, I had to do it. I'm like, no, I don't think you did. He's like, I got a pair and a straight draw. I'm like, sir, you do not have a straight draw. And I was getting, and the guys on the right left are like, yeah, just let it go. Da, 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 da. I'm like, you didn't have a bullshit. I didn't have a straight draw.
Oh,
I'm like 9-7-5-4. Can you tell me which card there is going to make a straight?
A 6 and an 8.
So I wasn't like overly, I wasn't being like really nasty with him, but you kind of take a turn. He's like, I don't care how much you bet. I'm calling anything.
Yeah.
So I actually walk away from the table and go to the bathroom and come back. And like 3 hands later, I got another hand with this guy. I get pocket kings.
Oh, okay.
And UTG limped. And then the villain on my right, the guy who just took a bunch of my chips, he 3-bets to $30, or raises to $30.
Okay, UTG limp for 5, right?
Yeah, and this guy was UTG 1, and he made it 30. And it's funny, he's like, we were having a conversation with him. I'm like, how much should I raise here? You said you'd call anything. He's like, yep. So I raised from 30 to 195. So, I raised huge. You know what I mean?
You asked him how much should I raise?
Yeah, he didn't actually say a number. He's like, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And you raised to what? 190?
I think it was 190. It might have been 190.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was 190. So I made like a ridiculous raise size. And
he calls, of course, right?
Well, yeah, the guy to my left tanks a while, and it's funny. He told me afterwards he had jacks, and there would be a jack on the turn here. So he put me on not tilting, but a strong hand.
Yeah.
So I had like 1,200 to start this hand, and the villain now has 3,200 or whatever.
Okay.
So the UTG guy folds, and the villain calls quickly. He's, how much is that? One of those things where I didn't name. I don't think I said the number of how much I raised.
Yeah, you just put a number out there.
And he's like, how much is that? He was already dropping chips in the pot.
That's awesome.
So, and anyways, so there's 405 in the pot, 190 and 190, and then 3 people put $5 in.
Okay.
And it's 982 rainbow.
That's pretty good flop for pocket kings.
And the villain leads out for $275.
Okay, well that's an excellent result. Okay, so villain leads for how much?
275.
275 into a 405 pot. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think the numbers will really matter here. I mean, is there anything for me to do?
Yeah.
I had $1,100 or $1,200. Again, he's doing this with ace deuce, bottom pair, and blah blah blah, 10 jack, and
9-10.
He's also doing it with a set. You know what I mean? But I'm shoving here every time.
Yeah.
And thinking I'm ahead, at least 75-80% of the time. So I shoved my last chips in the pot, and he actually turns his cards over this time. It's like call, snap call, like he trapped me, and he flips over 9-8. He had 2 pair, and my kings did not improve.
You didn't catch a deuce or anything.
No, and I stop up from the table, and this is when I was walking out, and somebody brought me my cell phone, and the player even paused for a second, like almost looking at me like, do you need a hug, buddy, or what's going on?
Yeah.
But anyway, I was just happy. There was just no way I was leaving with money that night. Just like felt like that, And so that was the end of that session. And I don't know if there's any real big lessons to leave, but in both of them, I did the second time what I should have done the first time. It's just, okay, if he's calling anything, wow, I've got aces.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I don't know if there's any, like I said, other than the bet sizing in my first one, I think everything went standard. In the second one, everything went standard. And like the second hand, it looks like I could immediately get my chips back. I got a great opportunity because again, the guy is he's in get it all in mode with marginal hands.
Yeah,
but
his girlfriend's standing over his shoulder. He's ready to leave.
Yeah. I'll be curious if I go there the next time and I see, a couple of these guys who are at the table, I'm going to say, how much did that guy leave with?
Probably 0.
Yeah. And some of these times, there was one time where I left, I think I had lost. There's one guy there who ran it up we were all talking about it. This had to be about as much money as he's seen of someone as you've seen in front of someone at a 5-5 table, he was up to a little over $11,000 in chips, over 2,000 big blinds.
Wow.
And, and it's funny. I was talking about how the guy Andre knows how to deal. And this guy was just like shoving every draw on kind of thing. So he shoved a flush draw on the turn when he picked up a draw, and the guy Andre snapped him off with a straight. And of course, the guy's flush got there in the river, and this was like a $6,000 pot or something ridiculous. But and then Andre was just like, "Hey man, they were talking about going to the bar. He's like, you want to get that drink? I'm done for the night." And, we went, and the guy bought him a drink, but it turns out this guy decided to finally cash out and had all his chips and stuff. But they started a 5-10 game at the adjacent table. Someone's like, "Hey man, we got a bigger game here." This was after I left, but supposedly the guy dumped all that money in about 90 minutes at 5-10.
Just dumped 11 grand.
It dumped 11 grand, and you can buy in for 3 grand there. So, it's,
he's just reaching into his pocket every 20 minutes and just, oh my God, that's awesome.
Just wanted to play. Like I said, this was a guy who was talking about, man, I don't, wow, he's talking about how he lost $30,000 playing blackjack like the previous night. So I don't know what
the guy you want playing poker with you. Oh my
yeah,
God.
There's a few of them like that, like the blackjack players who come in every now and then, whether they're just tired and, they want to sit down and, in a different environment. I don't know.
Yeah, they're playing $400 a hand at blackjack, and this is like tiddlywinks to them. This is wow, I can play for a long time on this.
I mean, I'm assuming most people losing $11,000 in 90 minutes stings a little bit, but for this guy, I don't know. But anyways, this guy from this Houston guy, I'll be curious. I'm guessing he had a similar story where, I mean, there's no reason his luck had to stop. He could have turned that. I guess when I left, he probably had $4,500 after taking all my chips.
Yeah.
Or something in that vicinity. I mean, there's no reason he couldn't have run it up to 8 or 9, and then finally his girlfriend drag him out of there.
Yeah, yeah.
But it could have gone, more than likely gone the other way, where he just said, "Oh, I was having too much fun," and stayed and dusted off the big stack. But
yeah.
So a lot of it is obviously timing. You got that one guy there who's going to go busto and lose a lot of money, and it's just like which pro. There's always one player who's the guy who's losing all these hands to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, somebody's got to feed him those chips,
And then they go back to the other guys. But
yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, I already discussed my emotional, psychological state after that, and my adversarial relationship to the game, and my commitment to not return, and blah blah blah. But the next day, I won the tournament for whatever it was, 3,600 or something. I can't remember. And, I guess I'll be back and hopefully telling some stories of some highly profitable cash game sessions.
Yeah, I think you got the right mindset now. Just take a week off, spend some time with your son, enjoy Christmas. Take a little break. Get your mind right, and play some online poker, and then come back, and maybe start at 2-3,
right.
Maybe 5-5, but definitely not 5-10 or anything bigger. And and just slowly get back into it. And
right. I have to make money too. I got bills and stuff to pay, so I have to. So yeah, whether it's get a job or grind 2-3, I've got to go someplace with a low variance money options.
If you're playing 4 tables online, that could be pretty. I mean, not low variance, but it can be a lot lower than 5-5. You know what I mean? If you're playing $10 to $50 tournaments, and you're playing 4 tables at a time, you can grind out a dozen tournaments on a day. And
sure,
if you go deep in one of those, then
these are all matters to contemplate on my brief hiatus.
Yeah.
So, do you have any interesting hands you played this week?
I do. I've got 2 hands. Actually, I have 3 hands that I played under the gun, and they're all 2 of them are almost exactly the same. Okay, so this one, I was at the dream table. I was at a dream table. I sat down, and I immediately...
Was Elle McPherson there?
Elle McPherson. I'm going to sound like an idiot. I don't know who that is.
Oh, you're much younger than me. That's the first one. A dream table. She was like the supermodel of supermodels like 10 or 15 years ago.
Oh, okay.
I'm joking. If it's a dream table, I would think there'd be some like hot women there, not just, a bunch of guys spewing $300. Your poker dreams are different than mine.
Yeah.
But
No, it wasn't the Swedish bikini team. No, it was.
Once again, I have sabotaged a perfectly decent discussion of poker here with my perversities.
No, I guess that would be a dream table if I sat down and a bunch of girls were wearing bikinis and had no idea how to play poker. That would be the ultimate combination there.
But let's just pretend instead of that, you're
and
a
they
poker
were blowing
pro
their boyfriend's money, just throwing chips at me.
Okay, well, now that you throw that in, yeah, okay. Now we're almost on the same page. Anyways, you are under the gun at a dream table.
I was under the gun at a dream table. I've been playing probably a couple hours. And when I came to this table, normally the tables, you sit down and I recognize most of the people there, a couple not, and there's usually 4 regulars, and, 2 of them are really good, and the other 2 are regulars, and the other ones, whatever. This one, I recognized every single person at the table, and they were all regulars that were just lags. The loose, aggressive, passive, terrible, right? They're the ones that I don't know what they do for a living, but they must make some really good money, because I see them just blow a lot of it at the poker table almost every single day. So I don't know what they do for a living, but it must be very, very lucrative, because they just spew money all the time at the table. That was the table.
Or they're guys who have $20,000 in credit card debt and just have stopped giving a damn.
That could be it too.
There's the other side of the money coin, where you got no money and
yeah, somehow you were able to take 3 loans out on your house for more than it's worth, and you just run it down on the green felt. I don't know, but yeah, they were all sitting at my table, and I'm like, well, this is going to be a profitable night.
Right.
And anyways, so I sit down. Now, these hands that I'm going to discuss, I don't think any one of these are actually part of that profit, but this first one, I get 8-8 under the gun. I hadn't been playing a hand for a long time, so I knew my image was pretty tight. I raised under the gun for $12. Again, blinds are 2-3, max blind is 300. I have about 300 in front of me. I've mostly been folding, playing every now and then, but, hadn't really caught any good situations. But I finally caught a hand that was better than like 5-2 offsuit, and I raised 8-8 under the gun for $12. I get 4 calls. I get guy to my left calls, who is very loose. He could call with anything. I briefly mentioned him before. I was playing with him at another table where I had aces, and he called a 3-bet for $45 with 6-9 suited, and hit 3 of a kind of the flop. This was a different session, but is that guy. A guy in middle position calls, who's very loose. He's got a huge stack of like 800 or 900. Okay. And small blind calls and the big blind calls, and they're both loose. Everyone's loose. I shouldn't even preface it with that. $60 in the pot. So I have 8-8 under the gun.
Okay.
I have the 2 red 8s. And the flop comes down, queen of clubs, 9 of diamonds, 8 of clubs. So the nuts here would be Jack 10.
Right.
For the straight. But I flopped bottom set on a really draw heavy board. So you got a flush draw out there and straight draw. You could have a straight. The small blind checks. And then the big blind, he bets $30. So he bets half pot. There's 60 in the pot. He bets 30. What are you thinking at this point? So the big blind check, small blind check, big blind bet $30. There's 60 in the pot, and I've got I got 2 people left to act behind me, and then it's back around to the small blind. What would you do at that?
I'm raising big.
Okay.
I mean, and just with actually the hope of getting it in, if you think they're capable of shoving with one pair.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, there's different when you describe them all as loose. I mean, there's guys who are loose, like they always want to see the flop, but they're always going to be a little nervous, loose that somebody else has it, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So it kind of matters. But I would never just flat here. I don't think with 3 other players, because then you could have somebody calling with just like 10-9. So you could end up with a gut shot and a couple draws facing you, and I don't know. That's my first instinct is, I mean, there's already $90 in the pot.
Yeah.
Which is, a sizable amount here for this game, I think. So I would raise 150.
Ah, that big.
Okay. I mean, maybe that's a little too big. Or just make it a pot size raise, I guess. There's 120. That would be a pot size raise. There's 120 in the pot now.
Oh,
I'm sorry. There's 90 in the pot.
90
So you raised it 90. Yeah, that would be 120. How big a stack is the big blind? Do you remember?
The big blind has about 350. He's just got me covered.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's, I guess if you think there's any player there who is, capable of re-raising a fair amount of the time, but, maybe just flat. Or I guess, were you thinking more along the lines of you want to put an inducey raise out there? Like, looks like you're just trying to see where you're at kind of raise?
Well, my thought was, as draw heavy as the board was, with a flush draw out there, and then anyone with Jack 10, I mean, if somebody's got Jack 10, we're getting it in, and
right.
I'm going to hope to fill up and
deal with the consequences.
Yeah. And, but, as draw heavy as the board was, my initial thought was the same as yours. I'm like, I want to put a sizable raise out here and, hope he shoves it, and basically just hope he doesn't have, Jack 10, and as long as he doesn't, and, I don't think he has
great shape. Yeah,
I don't think he has queens.
Shouldn't have queens for sure.
Shouldn't have queens.
Maybe nines.
He could have nines, but hope the guy has like queen 9 or like king jack of some kind of draw or something, or maybe ace 3 of clubs, or hope he's got something to put it in, and let's get it in now and
sure,
see what happens. And that was my thought.
I mean, somebody should have a big piece of this flop, you would think. You said there's a flush draw out there, right?
Yeah, there's flush draw.
There's with a flush draw or a pair and a straight draw or top pair. Somebody should have a piece of it and be, at least, even if you raise big, should be tempted to want to see another card, I would think.
Yeah, I put out 100, so there's 90 in the pot now. I made it 100, which brings the pot up to 190, and then it's 70 for him to call. And he thinks for about 5 seconds, and then he folds and he shows a queen. And I was like, "Ooh, that was supposed to pay me off," And I think where I went wrong on this was I hadn't played a hand in like an hour. I mean, I was literally getting 5-2, 8-3, 9-4, and anytime I got any kind of hand like 8-9, then somebody had raised, and then someone called, and I was in a bad spot, and I just, I never had a chance to play a hand, And this was the first one out of the gates that I had played in an hour, and I think it was obvious that I had him beat, and he let it go.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think the raise is the right way. I mean, even if you just flat,
someone's going to call behind with some weird draw, and there's going to be a 10 on the turn, and then
well, there could be. I mean, no. The other problem is that you could just have a card that kills your action. If this guy has queen rag, let's say he just felt like defending.
Yeah.
And like the turn is the 3 to the flush or a straightening card or anything, he's no longer going to think he's good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I said, it could go the other way, but with a queen, your raise just looks so strong in a 5-way pot. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
Where, if is of any competence whatsoever, he's should be folding this with a queen, and except for possibly queen jack, queen 10, where he has the queen and the straight draw.
Yeah, and the gutter ball.
But like I said, yeah, it seems like you lost value, but it might have the turn. It's certainly possible the turn card might have shut things down anyways. If anything, maybe raise smaller to price him in. I guess raise to 75.
Okay.
And then I don't, maybe
that'll knock the rest of the players out, and then hopefully just keep him in or something.
Like I said, I mean, it looks like you have it every time, but a lot of these players, just because you're playing a very small range of hands, a lot of the laggy players that just don't give a damn. Listen, I hit the flop.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this guy, it's not like the guy with the 4-5 in the hand. He didn't stop to think, I bet he has a big hand.
Yeah.
I don't think. He just was like, he had
not
put money in and he's going to see the flop.
Pair, yeah.
So, although, he had seen me get caught in some bluffs and stuff, and I was capable of, I was playing enough hands that it's not going to immediately when I raise say, oh, he has aces.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't beat yourself over that. I like the play. I like the play. I like the bet sizing.
If he had ace queen, he would have paid me off, and that would have been
some guy just made a proper fold.
Okay. All right, I feel better about that one. Okay. Well, the very next orbit, I'm under the gun again. Hadn't played a hand since then, and I pick up pocket jacks, and I've got. Let me make a quick note here.
I wanted to now, but before we go back to the 8-8 hand, I wanted to make like the comment, because when you talk about when a game that's like loose,
yeah,
and especially if there's three better, even like good hands under the gun, I'm like already thinking, well, this is probably going to go multi-way, and this is like a set mine anyways. Maybe would you consider just limping there? I mean, it feels. I mean, like I don't really do it, but I see other players do that when there's one guy there's another guy who's known there as being crazy, and he'll 3-bet big without even looking at his hand. And against him, I mean, absolutely, you play ABC poker.
Yeah. And
because you're going to get 3-bet so often, even a hand as strong as pocket eights, limp, call his raise, and just if you're, if you obviously if you never hit your sets, or I mean, you could just bleed down doing this.
Yeah, you don't want to.
But put like depending on what kind of table you
stack
have,
with eights under the gun when you know he's going to raise or 3-bet you if you. Yeah, I can see that.
I'm just thinking aloud here. Like if you bet if you limp and you're going to get 6 people to limp with you, or if you raise and you're going to get 4 people to call. Whether it's 5 or 6 or 7-handed pocket eights, either way, it's almost like doesn't make a difference between them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you're almost under the gun. You almost need a set to win that hand.
Yeah,
depending on the table. I mean, I don't.
No, that's a good point because there was usually anywhere from 3 to 6 people seeing a flop every time at this table. It's not always like that, but at this one.
Right. But like I said, if they're loose, want to see flops, but are going to become a little timid after the flop, then you can almost go the other way. Raise to 20.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then so you get, maybe you don't get 4 callers, maybe you get 2 or 3. But like I said, if you're going to barrel every flop and, they're all going to fold 3/4 of the time, then that makes it profitable. But yeah, I mean, just the overall philosophy of a table where people are just kind of there to play roulette. I mean, they just want to see the wheel spin. They just want to see flops. Yeah, this is something I was thinking about because like I've seen play where I like Ray. I just don't like. I was joking with someone. I said, if you ever see me limp under the gun, it's either pocket deuces or a crummy suited ace that I just don't want to call a big 3-bet with because I want to see the damn flop here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I want to have a shot to hit a set with the worst pair. And I want to set a chance to flop the flush with the unspectacular ace. I never but just in terms of adjusting to the table, early position. Like I said, when they're loose, are they? So I guess they're loose. They're flatty loose though. There wasn't a lot of light 3-betting.
No, not really. No, they're pretty. Yeah, I guess loose aggressive isn't the right word. They're probably loose passive.
Right. Okay.
And, it's funny because I never even thought about limping. Like when I looked at pocket eights, this was the best hand I'd seen in an hour, and it looked like I just flopped 4, quads or something like it.
Right. But if you think about it, if you thought, well, I'm going to raise here with eights, and if you think you're always going to go at least like 4 players to the flop with an early position raise, then regardless of what they have, you almost never have more than like 30% equity in the pot kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So, but if they're passive, I don't know. It's just kind of interesting how to think to adjust to a table. Like I said, if it's loose aggressive where there's always going to be someone like 3-betting or raising a limp pot, or even if you raise pot, then I'm tempted to limp or raise small. And, but if they're loose passive, where if they just want to see flops and they're like giving up after the flop fairly easy, then you could almost go the other way. Increase your bet size, make 6 exit to $18.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just interesting to think about. But let's go to the Jack hand.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. So very, very next orbit, I pick up Jack under the gun. This time I raised to 16 instead of 12.
Okay.
Maybe that's a bet sizing tell. I didn't even think of that until I'm looking at the paper right now. But I raised to 16. Once again, I get 4 callers, so
Okay.
I get the same guy under
They're
the gun.
consistent.
Yes, very consistent. I get the same guy to my left. He calls, and same guy with the 9-6 before. He could be calling with anything. Position means nothing to him.
Right.
I get an older lady. Now she's very tight until she gets ahead or behind, and then she'll call almost anything. So at this point, she's ahead. She's up, so she calls. I get the same guys calling out of the small blind and the big blind. So there's $80 in the pot this time instead of 60. And the flop comes down kind of similar to the last one. The flop is I've got the 2 blackjacks, and the flop is the jack of diamonds, queen of spades, 6 of spades. So again, there's a straight draw out there, and then there's a flush draw out there. Roy, who's a loose guy, likes to drink, just likes to play, just overall losing player. I imagine for every $300 he buys in, he probably loses half of it. He leads out for 25 into an $80 pot. The big blind, who I was involved with in the 8-8 hand, he folds, and then it's on me. So he leads out for 25. That leaves 105 in the pot, and it's on me. And I've got
middle set. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got middle set, and two people behind me.
I don't know because as you feel you didn't get maximum value from your 8s. Yeah, I mean, not that it should make a difference, but now I still think I'm raising though. I guess your hand is just so strong here. And there's no completed straight there. So you know you have the nuts now.
Yeah.
Pretty much, you know what I mean? There's nobody with queens.
Yeah.
So it's a little different than the last one where you could actually be beat.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's a little more risk into letting people draw, not just for the flush, but also like the one pair hands could have a gutter ball.
Yeah.
Where this point, if anyone has just one pair, they're pretty much drawing dead.
Yeah.
I still think, multi-way pot, I'm raising.
What's your sizing on the raise?
Because just thinking that somebody here has a good looking hand.
Yeah, has ace 3 of spades that they want to see another spade come down.
Or someone has king 10, or someone has a queen, or there's no reason that. Everybody could whiff on the flop.
Yeah.
But 25 and 80. I'm probably. Yeah, and this time maybe just a little bit smaller, like I said, because your hand is even less vulnerable than the 8s were, which were obviously pretty strong. I would 80, make it 80.
Okay.
Around there. I don't know. Again, if you made it 80 for the original caller, there would now be 185 in the pot, and he only has to call 55, so he'd be getting, better than 3-1. But you're not really worried about him taking another card. If you want to keep the draws in here, I think.
Yeah.
Or draw singular. I would not love to see two callers here, whatever you bet. But yeah, you're, still going to go with your hand and be good on the turn, 90% of the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what did you do?
Well, I raised to 100, and I got everyone folded, and Roy showed a queen with a bad kicker. I wrote queen with bad kicker, but I only remember seeing the queen, so he must have told me I had a bad kicker. Yeah, I think he said I didn't like my kicker. And that was that. I'm like, dang it, again. And so that was 2 rotations right there where I flopped a set, and didn't get any action on them. And I came out ahead on both of them, but still, you want to get it all in there, and I didn't, and I felt like my sizing was off in both of them. I think on the first one, like you said, with the eights, it's just with the board so draw heavy. You know, I think my sizing was okay, but on the second one, I could have made it a little bit smaller.
Well, I guess against this particular villain, maybe this is what we didn't take into consideration, that, you know, his bet is almost not a sign of strength. It's almost probing, like, oh, I don't want, if someone bets 50, I'm going to call. Maybe I can just bet 25. They know I have a queen because I showed so, I mean, in your defense, like, there's almost no, unless he hits 2 pair on the turn, even if you just flat there, he's already thinks he's second best, probably.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because, like, or, I mean, you could be on a draw and maybe he barrels big. I mean, again, it always depends on the history with the particular villain. But like, this is just one orbit later.
Yeah.
You didn't show your hand last time. You think with top pair, he would be thinking, this guy's just messing with me now. He thinks I'm weak. So
Yeah.
did he tank it all and talk it all while he was thinking about it, or did he fold pretty quickly?
He folded probably within 3-4 seconds. It was pretty quick. He kind of
okay.
looked at his hand, and then, you know how they slide one card from the bottom to the top one, and then the next one to the top, and you know when they do that they're folding, just like when they pick up their hand and they hold it a little bit too high. You know they're letting their hand go. You know, like they're debating, but they already know what their decision is. And it was like one of those. As soon as I made the raise and it went around to him, I knew he was out. And I think you're right. I think had I made it there, maybe a min raise to like 50, or maybe a $55, $60, 75, something like that. 75 might have been too much. Just knowing what his hands is now, I'm probably too results oriented. But him as a player, I think with a queen with a weak kicker, he would have called a min raise, and anything more than that, I think he could dump it. He could be a very good player if he just, you know, followed his instinct and didn't chase stuff that he knows is not good. It's almost like he likes drawing out. You know what I mean? Like if I had just min raised it there and he had something like, I don't know, queen 8, you know, like he knows he's behind, but he still has to call, because if he catches that 8, like he could get me. You know, he's one of those guys.
Right.
It's like, man, if you could just nip that in the butt, like you would be a winning player. You know, that's all it would take. I'll never understand that. But
there's something to be said for just always. I mean, it depends on the table, but if you're describing a loose table, it's just always playing your big hands fast.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, you got to have to, you know, bluff sometime doing that, and just, I mean, you don't get that many big hands, but just hope someone else has a piece.
Mm-hmm.
Hope you're playing against someone like me who thinks everybody's just full of S. Hope you get a calling station. You know what I mean? Like, there's just. So especially in a multi-way pot, just bet your hand and just hope somebody has a piece. And if they don't, you know, I mean, that's my first instinct there, is both those hands you played fine.
Okay.
And unfortunately, like I said, I think on both those hands, this guy's not going to love his hand on the turn unless he somehow improves.
Yeah.
Which, if both times he has just a weak queen, is not that often.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if he's like immediately going to be suspecting that you have a better hand anyways. So, but like if it's brick for him and his hand doesn't get better and you continue to slow play, you probably can get a decent value bet on the river.
Yeah.
You know, check on turn. Let's say you actually, you know, hit the quads on the turn or something, you know.
Yeah.
Where I think, you know, if he's with a draw on board, he really has to pay off your value bet on the river.
Yeah.
If you had just called his 25 and there's whatever in the pot, if there's 125 in the pot and it goes check on the turn, and on the river he checks, and then you bet, you know, 65 or something, I think he would probably have to call. So, I mean, there's many scenarios where you would have gotten paid. If you just flatted, but
2 streets of value.
There's many scenarios where, you know, you raise big and the guy's ready to go with his hand for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Because he has a big hand, or just because he's sick of folding to you.
If he had ace queen, he would have shoved there. I know him. I've played with him enough. He would have shoved.
Right.
King queen, he probably would have called. At queen jack, he would have had 2 pair. He would have shoved. Queen 10, he probably would have just. That'd have been borderline.
He had like suited queen 7 and just wanted to see a flop. Probably.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. Yeah. I think he had like. Yeah, something in that range. Yeah, but Yeah, I got another one under the gun. This was the last hand of the night, actually. I have
Okay.
one more after this from another day, but this one I have 7-7 under the gun. So this is the night of under the guns for Steve.
Okay.
7-7 under the gun. This time I choose to limp. So I guess with 8s I raise and with 7s I limp. So if anyone plays against me, now you know my secret.
Right.
I limp 7-7 under the gun. It's 7 of clubs, 7 of hearts. Looking at the board here, that plays a little bit of part, but not much. So I limp under the gun for $3. Middle position limps, another middle position limps, cutoff limps, button limps, small blind limps, and the big blind checks. So we go to the flop with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players, including me. There's $21 in the pot. And the flop is 3 of clubs, 3 of diamonds, 2 of clubs. Small blind checks, big blind checks. And it's on me. There's $21 in the pot. I've got 7-7, and it's 3 clubs, 3 of diamonds, 2 of clubs on the board. What are you thinking here?
I would be betting big, I think.
And in a $21 pot, big is
$15 maybe.
That's exactly what I bet. Okay.
I mean, I don't know, for protection / value. You've got the best hand here.
Yeah.
Quite frequently. Again, I don't know, if people here are flatting with jacks in middle position from a limp or not. I mean, but basically, yeah, my plan is to hopefully take it down or end up, heads up with a weaker hand. But yeah, I mean, certainly somebody, if people are seeing so many flops, somebody could have a 3 there.
Yeah. Okay.
You could have somebody with a 4-5 and somebody with a flush draw. So basically, I'm not looking to play a big pot here. Certainly, obviously,
you're betting a little less than pot, though.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. That's what I did. I bet exactly 15. It folds around to the cutoff. He calls 15, and then the small and big blind fold. So we got $51 in the pot. I'm heads up with the cutoff. The cutoff is an old man. He's probably 65, 70. He's a regular there. Loose passive. Not very good. Drinking $8 Merlot. A little bit drunk, but fun to play with, Then we go to the turn. The turn is the 4 of diamonds. So the board is 3, 3, 2, 4, with now 2 flush draws on board. So there's a diamond draw that hits the turn, and there's a club draw that was on the flop. And what are you thinking here? There's $51 in the pot. Are you checking, betting?
Is he ever floating, this kind of guy with ace high?
No,
he's never floating. So he likes the flop because he's got an overpair.
Or a draw.
Or he's got a deuce and 3, or he has a draw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm betting. If he's got a draw, you want to put more money in. His hand might have improved. He might have had 4 or 5 and just now has a pair. I'm just going to put more money in. I mean, the question is if you have, if he's got 8 and 9s in his range, kind of thing, 8, 9s, and 10s, are you just building a pot for when you're drawing pretty thin? I think betting or certainly not check folding. I might be in check call mode, just saying, well, this could make him bluff his put money in there with his draws when he's drawing kind of thin, for 20% equity or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm certainly not. I'm still. My mindset is, I still have the best hand quite frequently, so. I'm not giving up on the pot, whether that's check, call, or bet. I'm not sure what's optimal there. I mean, if you bet again and he calls, I mean, is he the kind of guy who's capable of, if there's a scare card on the river, if there's a king or an ace kind of thing, is he capable of bluffing the river?
Probably not.
Because if he has a missed flush draw, I wonder, immediately for me, if I'm on a flush draw, and let's say you even bet pot, if you even bet big there, if I'm just going on my draw, I really should be folding unless we're super deep.
Yeah.
So I'm immediately thinking, well, what other hands can I win on the river with?
Yeah.
If I got a straight draw, well, maybe if it's a flush, I'm raising his river bet, or if it's an ace or a king, and he checks to me, I'm betting. I don't know. So, yeah, I mean, I guess, if this is a cop out for me, maybe not having a really strong opinion on it. It's just to say it depends on the villain. But, I mean, if you think you got the best hand, I guess you should, and you think it's likely he's going to call with a worse hand or a draw, then you should be betting again.
I felt like I was good, so I let out for 20. Maybe I wasn't as confident as I am thinking now, but at the time I thought, well, okay, what would he call here? I was pretty sure he had some kind of draw, so I put him on some kind of straight or flush draw, and like you said, 4-5 or some kind of club draw, or maybe something like ace-4. I mean, ace-5 just got there, so if that's the case, I'm drawing pretty thin. But I bet 20 into 51. And then at that point, he pretty quickly put all his chips in. And he re-raised to 121. So now the pot is 71. And then he shoves for 121. So now there's 192 in the pot, and it's 101 for me to call.
Like I told you, my mind and the way I work, I'm immediately thinking of the hands that I beat.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, this guy's got pocket fives. He just got a straight draw. He's going with it. I'm ahead.
Yeah.
Good. I got him.
That was my thought exactly. I was like, okay, pocket fives, he's got a straight draw. I'm ahead. Pocket sixes, I'm beating. And then I thought ace-4 of clubs, I'm beating. I'm beating, and I kept thinking, I'm like, what is he going to call there with it? Like, would he ever call there?
Well, ace-5 of diamonds. He could obviously have you drawing down to, just a few outs here if that's what he called with.
Yeah, he could have ace-5. But all I could put him on was some kind of flush draw or a straight draw that just got a little pair.
I guess the question is, if he has a 3, is he ever flatting the flop, or is he almost always kind of raising, being real excited?
If he has a 3.
Because that would be, you can take a bunch of hands out of his range then on the turn where you're like he's been slow playing. I mean, if he has quad 3s, I think it'd be really bad if he raised the flop.
Yeah.
And kill the action. So 3s or deuces, but I mean, I don't know how many, he's from the cutoff. He should not really have a 3 in his hand unless it's like an ace-3 suited.
That's what I kept thinking. The only 3 that I could put him on was ace-3. And there's only,
he could, pocket 4s would make sense here.
Pocket
obviously
4s would make sense. Yeah. Or pocket 2s, I guess, huh?
If he had a better pair, pocket 8s, pocket 9s, pocket 10s.
Would he wait to raise on those though?
Yeah, I would
until
think,
the turn? Or
he would just be worried that's a very good card for somebody. That could be a tough card for him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if you had, like I said, yeah, I don't know. I mean, he could know that, you don't know what level someone's on. Where like when someone shoves a flop with a flush draw, it always looks like they're going to put a lot of draws in their range, and they're likely going to get called by one pair. Where on the turn, if you want to wait, it's kind of a ballsier move. But if you want to wait, from flop to turn to shove that draw on whatever the turn card is, you make it look like you hit gin with the turn card, where actually your hand wasn't improved at all.
Well, if this helps, this is one of those where when I got a decision, I usually take my hat and my sunglasses off, and if I'm listening to music, I pull my earbuds out of my ears, and it's obvious that I have a decision. I usually don't hide it, and it's one of these where I was okay. Maybe I can get him talking, and I can get something out of him, and I said, well, do you want me to call? And I kind of waited for him to talk, and I was hemming and hawing, and then he said, okay, just call with your 3-2 and get it over with.
So that means he's got pocket 5s. I don't know. I don't know what that means.
I was so confused too. I ended up calling, and Apparently that was a mistake because he had 3-2 offsuit.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and then I don't remember what the river was. It was inconsequential because I didn't catch a 7 or a. I guess my only out was a 7 there. Yeah, and that was it. And,
even the loosest table. Well, if you're limping, I guess people are going to call with just about anything.
I did not put him on 3-2.
But I would think, that would be a hand where it depends on the villain. But, very, very few people are going to put money in there with that pot. But like I said, I couldn't see him not raising with trips. Like I said, I didn't think 3-2. I said, well, the only way he'd be flatting there with a 3 is if he has 2 of them.
Yeah.
But I guess 3 deuce, we failed to mention that too. I mean, that would be the other one where he would not.
Yeah, but how are you going to put a guy on limping with 3-2? I mean, who plays that? But you know what, dude? This is why I'm saying you should play 2-3 is because people play this crap.
Right.
I mean, they're sitting down with $300 at the table of real money, and they're putting money in, good money that you could spend on things like food and rent and all sorts of wonderful stuff, and they put it in with a 3-2 offsuit. So
right, yeah, I don't know.
Apparently, it's profitable though because I paid him off. But,
yeah, I guess just against this villain, yeah. I mean, it sounds like you thought it through. Like I said, 3s did not seem to be too prominent. But if he's not shoving draws there, if he's not shoving draws on the turn, then you got to put him on some sort of pair at the very least. Like I said, 5s and 6, you're better than.
I learned something about him after this though. If I play him again, I saw him call an all in for like $100 with top pair, a pair of kings, but his kicker was an 8, and it was like the flush got there on the river, and I would have folded, but he ended up calling, and so he doesn't like to fold a hand when he gets it, but after seeing this hand, I don't think he raises unless he's got it, because I don't remember seeing him raise other than this, and I played with him for 3 hours at least. And so that probably should have been a clue too.
Right. Well, it's good you're like taking notes on these people, especially if you see him again.
Yeah. There's a lot of regulars there. Now I know when I play with him again, he'll play with almost, because if you'll call with 3-2 offsuit, you'll pretty much call with just about anything. I mean, he's probably only folding the very worst of hands like 8-3 and 9-2 or something. I mean, if he's calling with 3-2, he's calling with anything.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that would be we're talking about having just limping everything if the table was like loose aggressive with like lots of 3-betting and, people just building the pot. And like I said, this might have been the opposite case where people are just
really loose passive.
And, I don't know. Yeah, I guess, at the point where he goes all in, you only had $38 in the pot. If you think this is, I guess that's for this game.
He's got to be bluffing a lot for me to call there. Or at least drawing a lot, or not have a made hand.
Like I said,
sevens isn't beating much on that board, except draws.
You definitely never have the guy like dominated.
Yeah,
I don't think. Rarely does he have pocket 6s there.
Yeah.
I guess 5-4 you got him pretty dominated, but the 4's still good for him. Oh no, the 4 would not be good for him because you would have a better 2 pair. There's a few hands you have him in bad shape, but usually it's one of those things where he now has a flush draw and a straight draw, and the ace is good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or he somehow has a set, or,
Yeah.
Or a full house. So I guess from that, you're getting 2-1. So I don't think he's ever bluffing there, like you said. But the question, is he shoving for worse? I mean, now we can look at it afterwards.
Yeah.
If you don't think he's ever just floating and going to shove the turn, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So anyways, I don't dislike how you play the hand. And it's tough. Pocket 7s on that board. That board's about as good as it gets for pocket 7s. You'll win the next one.
Yeah.
Speaking of laying it down.
Yeah.
We have now babbled for 2 hours here.
I know. I'm going to have to whittle this thing down because we only have about an hour and 40 minutes worth of data left on our
Oh, okay. Well, whatever it is, man. Even if nobody even listens, I've already benefited going back and listening to the first episode.
I have too.
Just actually already. Well, I didn't like a couple of the things I said, which were said kind of rashly and I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, just listening to ourselves talk about a hand and almost, I mean, I'm sure like hopefully a couple months from now we go back and listen to early episodes. We're like, I'm a better player now.
Yeah. Yeah. Just in these 3 episodes, I can tell I'm already, thinking on a deeper level than I was. And, yeah, this is good. It's only going to make us better.
And this is our goal.
Yep. We just want to get better. That's it.
We want better, and we want 3 college-aged girls groupies who want to learn the game.
Yes, little poker bunnies.
Well, stranger things have happened. Not really, actually. But anyway, Steve, always nice talking to you.
Yes, you too, Mike.
Episode 3.
Yes.
Heads Up Poker Podcast, and I will be talking to you guys. We'll be getting together and talking hands soon.
All right, brother. You have a good Christmas. Have fun with your son, and yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, man.
All right, take care.